welcome to HND Live News, Wednesday Global Roundup. Today from the news desk, Saria Chandni
and Fatima Abdul Qadir. Today's news headlines are: Coronavirus news, coronavirus, why Spain is seeing COVID second wave. Spain saw one of the most draconian COVID-19 lockdowns in Europe. But 2 months after it was lifted, the virus is spreading faster than in any neighboring nation. It now has Europe's fastest rising caseload with 142 positive cases per 100,000 inhabitants over the past 2 weeks. By the time the state of emergency on 21st June, Spain was registering 100 to 150 cases per day. That number has risen to more than 3,000.
Coronavirus pandemic, children aged 12 and over should wear masks, WHO. The World Health Organization, WHO, has issued guidance saying children over the age of 12 should wear masks in line with recommended practice for adults in their country or area. It admits little is known about how children transmit the virus, but serious evidence that teenagers can infect others in the same way as adults. Children aged 5 and under should not normally wear masks, the WHO said. More than 800,000 people have now died with coronavirus worldwide. At least 23 million cases of infection have been registered according to Johns Hopkins University, with most of them recorded in the US, Brazil and India. However, the true number of people who have had the virus is believed to be far higher due to insufficient testing and asymptomatic cases. The number have been rising again in countries as diverse as South Korea, European states and Lebanon.
Moving on, coronavirus smell loss different from cold and flu. The loss of smell that can accompany coronavirus is unique and different from the experience by someone with a bad cold or flu. The European researchers who have studied the experiences on patients. When COVID-19 patients have smell loss, it tends to be sudden and severe, and they usually don't have a blocked, stuffy or running nose. Most people with coronavirus can still breathe free. Another thing that sets them apart is their true loss of taste. It's not their taste is somewhat impaired because their sense of smell is out of action, say the researchers in the journal Rhinology. Coronavirus patients with loss of taste cannot tell the difference, bitter or sweet. Experts suspect this is because the pandemic virus affects cells directly involved with smell and taste.
Wuhan coronavirus, from silent streets to packed pools. Thousands of people packed shoulder to shoulder with no face masks in sight, frolicking on rubber floats and cheering along to a music festival. It's not a very 2020 image, but it was the scene this weekend in the Chinese city of Wuhan, where COVID-19 was first emerged late last year. Pictures of partygoers at the Wuhan Maya Beach Water Park, looking very much removed from the outbreak that the rest of the world continues to battle, have now gone viral.
Coronavirus, how will the world vaccinate 7 billion? Teams across the world are working to develop a vaccine that will be effective against COVID-19. Prime Minister Boris Johnson has called it the most urgent share of our lifetime. But away from the high-tech science of finding a winning formula, what about the logistics of rolling out a vaccine to 7 billion worldwide? The UK, the heart of that effort at the Harwell Science Campus on an ex-RAF airbase in Oxfordshire. It is going to be the UK's Vaccine Manufacturing and Innovation VMIC plans for have been brought forward by COVID-19. We have really compressed the timeline into almost half, so whereas we were expecting to have it ready at the end of 2022, we are now hoping to have it online in 2021, explains Matthew Dehart, Chief Executive of VMIC.
Thomas Restober Club crush kills 13 as Peru police raid party violating lockdown. At least 13 people died in a crush in Peru after trying to escape police who raided a nightclub violating coronavirus restrictions, police say. The crush happened as revelers tried to leave the Thomas Restober Club in Lima's Los Olivos district. Some eyewitnesses said tear gas was used. President Martin Vizcarra said 15 of 23 revelers arrested had tested positive for the coronavirus. Peru has been among the Latin American countries hardest hit by COVID-19. It has recorded more than 576,000 coronavirus cases and more than 27,000 fatalities. A nighttime curfew has been in place since March, and a ban on large gatherings was reimposed earlier this month.
Moving on, US election highlights. DNC 2020, Biden vows to end Trump's season of darkness. Newly minted Democratic White House nominee Joe Biden said US President Donald Trump has cloaked America in darkness for much too long. The former US Vice President said his rival has too much anger, too much fear, too much division. His impassioned speech was the capstone of a political career spanning nearly half a century. Mr. Biden, 77, heads into general election with a clear lead in opinion polls over Mr. Trump, 70. But with 75 days to go until the election, the Republican president has plenty of time to gap.
Donald Trump Jr., the son who is Trumpier than Trump. On the first night of Republican Party convention, the president's eldest son, Donald Trump Jr., took center stage and commanded the nation's attention. Trump's policies have been like rocket fuel to the economy, Mr. Trump said during his speech, praising his father's leadership. But his most powerful lines were not about the president. They were swipes at Joe Biden, the Democratic nominee for the presidency. Biden's radical left-wing policies would stop our economic recovery cold, Mr. Trump said. He warned conservatives that Democrats would undo the economic gains that people had made with his father in the White House.
Kamala Harris' speech. What was the verdict on how she did? The stakes could not have been higher for Kamala Harris as she made history to formally accept the Democratic vice presidential nomination. How did she do? Only 3 women have been on the top ticket for a major party before, and none has made it to the White House. The California senator, who spoke in an almost empty auditorium in Delaware, is also the first black woman and the first Asian American to be nominated. We asked voters and experts to assess her performance.
RNC 2020, Trump was Republican convention of rigged election. US President Donald Trump has warned his fellow Republicans their opponents may steal November's election as his party anointed him as their candidate. They're using COVID to defraud the American people, Mr. Trump told delegates on the first day of the party convention in North Carolina. Mr. Trump repeated his much disputed claims that mail-in ballots could lead to voter fraud. Opinion polls suggest he is lagging behind Democratic challenger Joe Biden. Mr. Biden, the former vice president to Barack Obama, has boasted a 10-point lead on occasions. Addressing delegates in person at a party conference that has been dramatically scaled back by COVID-19, Mr. Trump accused Democrats of using COVID to steal an election. The US president has repeatedly suggested an unprecedented surge in postal voting could lead to widespread fraud, even through experts and voting officials say this is a false conspiracy theory.
Braden Harrington, Joe Biden and the boy with the star. Joe Biden formally became a third virtual Biden. But Braden
He relieved how he had inspired by Mr. Biden because the nominee too had a stutter. In a video that has been viewed more than 2 million times, Braden started his speech by saying, "Without Joe Biden, I will not be talking to you today." The pair met in New Hampshire a few months earlier when Mr. Biden told Braden that they were members of the same club, We Stutter.
RNC 2020, the speakers and schedule for day 2 of Trump's Republican Convention. The Republican National Convention has kicked off with a roll call formally nominating Donald Trump to run in the 3rd November election. Party conventions take place once every 4 years. They are the ceremonial crowning of the party's presidential candidate as they prepare for the final phase of campaigning. Last time around, we saw the Trump family take center stage to a backdrop of fireworks and a sea of red, white and blue balloons. It's also where party officials wrap up other less glamorous business like unveiling the political platform and adopting rules. This time, for the first time, no new platform is being adopted. The party will continue to support Mr. Trump's 2016 manifesto. Times news updates. Florida mosquitoes, 750 million genetically modified insects to be. Local officials in Florida have approved the release of 750 million mosquitoes that have been genetically modified to reduce local population. The aim is to reduce the number of mosquitoes that carry diseases like dengue or Zika virus. The green lighting of a pilot project after years of debate drew a swift outcry from environmental groups who warned of unintended consequences. One group condemned the plan as a public Jurassic Park experiment. Activists warned of possible damage to ecosystems and the potential creation of hybrid, insecticide-resistant mosquitoes. But the company involved say there will be no adverse risk to humans or the environment and points to a slate of government-backed studies.
Climate change. New UK law to curb deforestation in supply chains. UK businesses will have to show that their products and supply lines are free from illegal deforestation under government plans. A proposed law would require large companies operating in the UK to show where commodities such as cocoa, soy, rubber and palm oil originated from. It would be illegal to use products that fail to comply with laws to protect nature in these origin nations. Critics, though, say the plan is flawed and lacks detail on penalties.
Mummified plants give a glimpse of Earth's future. Fossil leaves from the remains of a 23 million-year-old forest suggest some plants may adapt to grow more quickly as CO2 levels rise, a study says. Scientists recovered the very well-preserved leaves from an ancient lake on New Zealand's South Island. They have enabled the scientists to link for the first time to high temperature of the period with high levels of atmospheric carbon dioxide. The results have been published in the journal Climate of the Past. In their scientific paper, the team shows that some plants were able to harvest carbon dioxide more efficiently for photosynthesis, the biological process that harnesses light from the sun to produce food for the plant. They say their findings may hold clues for how the dynamics of plant life could shift to those of the distant past.
Climate change. Removing CO2 could spark big rise in food prices. Technologies that can remove carbon dioxide from implications for future food prices according to new research. Scientists say that machines that remove CO2 from the air will be needed to keep the rise in global temperatures in check. But these devices will have major impacts on energy, water and land use. By 2050, according to this new report, food crop prices could rise more than 5-fold in some parts of the world.
Earliest art in the British Isles discovered in Jersey. Fragments of stone engraved with abstract designs are the earliest known art in the British Isles. Researchers say they were made by hunter-gatherers who lived between 23,000 and 40,000 years ago on what is now Jersey. The designs were scratched in small ornamental tablets known as plaquettes. Similar examples have been found in France, Spain and Portugal. The 10 plaquettes were
Since the discoveries in the southeast of the island, scientists from London's Natural History Museum, the University of Newcastle and University of York have been analyzing the prehistoric markings. The researchers who have published their findings in the journal PLOS ONE now believe they represent the earliest evidence of the artistic expression in the British Isles. Coronavirus Dr. Anthony Fauci warns against rushing out vaccine. The top US virus expert has warned against rushing out a COVID-19 vaccine before it has been proven to be safe and effective. Speaking to Reuters, new agency Dr. Anthony Fauci also said doing so could hurt the development of other vaccines. US President Donald Trump is reportedly considering plans to put out a vaccine before it has been fully tested. Such a move could boost his chances of re-election in November's presidential election. Democrats accuse the US president of being prepared to endanger American lives for political gain.
Moving on, technology news. Uber ex-security boss accused of covering up hack attack. Uber's former chief security officer Joseph Sullivan has been charged with obstruction of justice in the US. The 52-year-old is accused of trying to cover up a data breach in 2016 that exposed the details of 57 million Ubers, drivers and passengers.
The company has previously admitted to a paying group of hackers a $100,000 ransom to delete the data they had stolen. Mr. Sullivan was fired in 2017 when the data breach was revealed. The charges filed by the US Department of Justice said Mr. Sullivan had taken deliberate steps to stop the Federal Trade Commission (FTC) from finding out about the hack. He is accused of approving the $100,000 payment to the hackers, which was made in Bitcoin. Facebook agrees to pay France Euro 106 million in back taxes. Facebook has agreed to pay the French government Euro 106 million in back taxes to settle a dispute over revenues earned in the country. The payment covers the large decade of its French operations from 2019. The social networking giant has also agreed to pay Euro 8.46 million in taxes on revenues in France for 2020, 50% more than in 2019. We pay taxes taxes we owe in every market we operate, said a Facebook spokeswoman. We take our tax obligations seriously and work closely with tax authorities around the world to ensure compliance with all applicable tax laws and to resolve any disputes as we have done with the French tax authorities. News publishers fight tech giants for better deals. Technology giants are facing calls from news publishers for a better share of revenues from Australia to America. US news outlets including the New York Times have asked Apple to reduce the cut it takes when subscriptions are taken out on its App Store. Earlier this week, Google clashed with an Australian watchdog that wants it to pay more for the news content it uses. As online firms like Apple and Google have grown, many news providers are struggling to survive. Digital Content Next DCN, a trade body which represents the New York Times, the Washington Post, and the Wall Street Journal, wrote the Apple chief executive Tim Cook on Thursday. The major US publishers are asking for better terms when people take out subscriptions to their news platforms via Apple App Store.
BTS Dynamite shatters YouTube records and heads for UK #1. Dynamite, the latest single by Korean boy band BTS, has smashed YouTube records and looks set to be UK's #1 single this Friday. The pastel-colored dance-heavy video was watched 101.1 million times in 24 hours after its release last Friday. That surpasses the previous record set by fellow K-pop band Blackpink, whose song How You Like That racked up 86.3 million views in 24 hours in June. Dynamite is also the first video to achieve 100 million views in one day. More than 3 million fans also tuned to watch the clip's live premiere, also double the previous record also held by Blackpink's How You Like That. Dynamite is the first single from BTS to be sung entirely in English, and the band said they wanted it to convey positive vibes, energy, hope, love, the purity, everything.
Lyft and Uber receive reprieve in California employment right now. Uber and Lyft have been granted a reprieve in a row over drivers' employment rights in California after a court granted an emergency injunction. The ride-hailing firms had threatened to suspend operations over an earlier ruling that they must classify drivers as employees, not contractors. But the reprieve allows them to continue operating while the court considers their case for appeal. The court's decision came just hours before Lyft was due to halt rides. The court has ordered Uber and Lyft to both submit their plans for hiring employees by early September, and oral arguments in the case are set for mid-October. Massive hype as Microsoft launches Windows 95. The internet has survived for 20 years without anyone in control, but it's now at a crossroad and may never be the same again. Microsoft released its new Windows 95 operating system amid great fanfare with midnight queues at computer shops. It was reported that the launch campaign cost $200 million and $8 million going to the Rolling Stones for its song Start Me Up. However, not everyone was buying the multi-million-dollar hype. The Breakfast Time report was first broadcast on 24 August 1995.
Moving on, sports news. Harry Kane, Tottenham striker in quarantine but expected to be fit for England. England captain Harry Kane should be available for the Nations League games next month despite being in quarantine following a trip to Bahamas. Tottenham striker Kane, 27, was on holiday in the Caribbean when the island was added to UK quarantine list on 7th August. He is now in self-isolation for 14 days after returning home. Kane is expected back in Spurs training next week before their Premier League opener against Everton on 12th September.
Serena Williams reaches Western and Southern Open third round. Serena Williams overcame a scare against Dutch qualifier Antrexa Roos to reach the Western and Southern Open third round in New York. American Williams, 38, stopped Roos serving out the match at 6-5 before winning 7-6, 8-6, 3-6, 7-6, 7-0 in almost 3 hours. Two-time champion Williams will play Greece's 13th seed Maria Sakkari in the third round. 4th seed Naomi Osaka of Japan bet Carolina Muchova 6-7, 5-7, 6-4, 6. The world number 10 was playing her first match since the WTA resumed after it was suspended because of the coronavirus pandemic. Osaka will face 16th seed Ukrainian Diana Yastremska in round 3.
Maya Moore, WNBA star's successful campaign for Jonathan Irons. As Jonathan Irons emerged from prison, Maya Moore fell to her knees. It took a moment for her strength to return. Then she got up and embraced him. A man for the first time over 23 years. Irons' first steps outside that building were also the last on a path the two had been walking together for more than a decade. Once she regained composure, turned to the phone filming the momentous occasion and said, "Okay guys, it's done, it's over."
Formula 1 2020 Turkey, Bahrain and Abu Dhabi confirmed to conclude season. Formula 1 has named the races that will conclude the 2020 season. 4 Grand Prix in 3 countries, Turkey, Bahrain and Abu Dhabi, will bring the calendar to a total of 17 races, the lowest number since 2009. The Turkish Grand Prix on 15th November marks a return for the Istanbul Park track for the first time in 9 years. Bahrain will host 2 races on 29th November and 6th December before the season concludes at Abu Dhabi's Yas Marina track on 13th December.
England versus Pakistan. Yasir Shah, Naseem Shah, Shah Masood on bubble life. The world-class leg spinner, the new star fast bowler and the century-making opener Yasir Shah, Naseem Shah and Shah Masood are 3 on the key players of Pakistan's test team. Before the third test against England, which starts on Friday with the tourists looking to draw the series 101, the trio spoke exclusively to the BBC's Atif Nawaz. Yasir, Naseem and Shah talked about life in the cricket bubble, facing James Anderson and Stuart Broad, missing their fans and more.
Usain Bolt, Jamaican sprinter, awaits coronavirus test results. Jamaican former sprinter and 8-time Olympic gold medalist Usain Bolt is awaiting results of a recent coronavirus test while self-isolating. Bolt, 34, revealed on social media he will stay at home as a precaution despite not having any symptoms. Just to be safe, I'll quarantine myself and just take it easy, he said. Bolt held a birthday party in Jamaica, and it's understood Manchester City and England forward Raheem Sterling was one of the guests. England are set to play Iceland in the Nations League on Saturday 5th September before taking on Denmark on Tuesday 8th September. And the latest update on this news is that his results are positive.
Moving on, world news. 2 gold nuggets worth $350,000 found in Australia. 2 gold nuggets worth around $3,000 have been discovered by a pair of diggers in southern Australia. Friends Shannon and Ethan West found the gold nuggets near gold mining town Ternagulla in Victoria State. Their lucky find was shown on Aussie Gold Hunter, which aired on Thursday. The men dug up the ground and used metal detectors to detect gold in the area. These are definitely one of the most significant finds, Ethan West said. According to the CNN, have 2 large chunks in one day is quite amazing. They found the nuggets, which have a combined weight of 2.5 kg, in a number of hours with the help of West's father, according to the Discovery Channel, which airs the program.
Africa to be declared free of wild polio in milestone. Africa is to be declared free from wild polio by the independent body, the Africa Regional Certification Commission. Polio usually affects children under 5, sometimes leading to irreversible paralysis. Death can occur when breathing muscles are affected. 25 years ago, thousands of children in Africa were paralyzed by the virus. The disease is now only found in Afghanistan and Pakistan. There is no cure, but the polio vaccine protects children for life.
Female Iraqi activist killed in Basra as gunman targets protesters. A female political activist has been shot dead in the Iraqi city of Basra in the 3rd such attack in a week. Riham Yaqub, doctor who had led local government protests, was killed by unidentified assailants on Wednesday. The killing on Friday of another activist, Tahzeen Sama, saw protesters take the streets and the authorities uncover those responsible. Prime Minister Mustafa Al-Kadhimi dismissed Basra's chief of police and other security officials in response. Following the killing of Dr. Yaqub, he vowed to do everything necessary to their duty.
Complicity with the killers and submitting to their threats is rejected, and we will do everything necessary for the Ministry of Interior and security agencies to carry out the task of protecting the security of society from the threats of outlaws, he added. Jacob Blake protests fresh clashes after Wisconsin shooting. There have been clashes for a second night in Wisconsin, with buildings and cars set alight following the police shooting of a black man on Sunday. Jacob Blake, 29, is in a stable condition after he was shot several times as he went to a car and opened his door in the city of Kenosha. Governor Tony Evers has called up the National Guard to aid local police.
The killing of black man George Floyd in Minnesota may lead to protests against racism and police brutality. Demonstrations across the U.S. in many cities internationally put a spotlight on the of African Americans by U.S. law enforcement and promoted a wider reflection on racism in society. Iran plane crash, cockpit exchange recorded after missile hit Ukraine jet. A black box recorder recovered from a Ukrainian passenger jet mistakenly shot down by Iraq in January captured a conversation in the cockpit moments after a missile strike, officials say. Data from the Boeing 737 indicated that the pilots and the passengers were alive before a second missile hit 25 seconds. Iran's aviation authority said the Ukraine International Airlines UIA flight crashed shortly after taking off from Tehran. All 176 people on board were. After initially denying any responsibility for the incident, Iran admitted it had shot down the UIA flight, unintentionally calling it a disastrous mistake by Iran's Revolutionary Guard Corps.
Bosnian War, Ratko Mladic appeals against genocide conviction. Ex-Bosnian Serb commander Ratko Mladic has begun appealing against his conviction for genocide and crimes against humanity in a court hearing where 3 of the judges are taking part via video link. The 2-day hearing has already been delayed by Mladic's health issues and the coronavirus pandemic. Mladic was jailed for life in 2017. He led forces during the massacre of Bosnian Muslims during the 1990s Bosnian War. Mladic, 78, appeared in court on Tuesday, initially wearing a surgical mask before removing it. He will address the court in The Hague for 10 minutes on Wednesday.
Indian news, India-US healthcare partnership still in battle against COVID-19. Ambassador Sandhu. The India-US cooperation is proving crucial to confront the health challenges posed by the coronavirus pandemic, including vaccine development and distribution. Delhi's top envoy in the US has said. India's ambassador to the US, Taranjit Singh Sandhu, wrote in an op-ed in the Washington Post Monday and said, as societies that respect innovation, India and the United States can do much to provide solutions to the virus pandemic and to build a healthier, safer world beyond. As both India and the United States combat a pandemic of unprecedented scale, the two countries have drawn upon the strength of their long-standing healthcare ties to help them better understand the novel virus and find workable solutions, he wrote.
D.K. Shivakumar tests positive for COVID-19. Karnataka Pradesh Congress Committee President D.K. Shivakumar tested positive for COVID-19 on Tuesday and was admitted to a private hospital in the city, sources in the party said. Mr. Shivakumar had toured several parts of the state in the recent past and held press conferences, highlighting the state government's failures on various matters including handling of the COVID-19 pandemic. A few days ago, former Chief Minister Siddaramaiah was discharged from the hospital after receiving treatment for COVID-19.
India's AstroSat makes rare discovery. AstroSat, India's first multi-wavelength satellite observatory, has detected an extreme ultraviolet UV light from a galaxy which is 9.3 billion light years away from Earth. The Inter-University of Astronomy and Astrophysics IUCAA said on Monday. A release from the Pew Inter-University Center for Astronomy and Astrophysics said a global by IUCAA scientists have achieved the major breakthrough.
Good that your mother is not around to see how Janhvi Kapoor was trolled after Dhadak. New Delhi, Janhvi Kapoor, daughter of late actress Sridevi and film producer Boney Kapoor, who is frequently on the receiving end of trolls for her film background, in a recent interview with Bollywood Hungama, recalled the bitter things people told her after the release of her debut from film Dhadak in 2008. Janhvi, who lost her mother and legendary actress Sridevi February 2018, just a few months before Dhadak's release, said during the interview, "When my first film came, I even got comments like, 'Good that your mother is not around to see.'" The actress added that she tried to focus only on ways to improve herself and told Bollywood Hungama, "I can't allow myself to get bitter or hurt. I'd rather see the criticism as an opportunity to do better myself. I would rather live in a bubble where everything is okay and then try to improve myself."
Making movies in a post-pandemic world, as the gates of cinemas remain locked and filming has stopped indefinitely in the wake of COVID-19 pandemic. The stakeholders of Kollywood, producers, actors, daily wage laborers and technicians are wondering what the future holds for their industry and whether there would be a return to normal in a post-COVID-19 world. While various stakeholders are hoping for a quick end to pandemic so that they could get on with the film business, many feels the industry ought to contemplate several issues: waiver of interest on debt, reduction of star salaries, the number of production, and hygiene improvements in cinemas. The producers have appealed to the interest payable on their loans during the lockdown period.
Ravichandran Ashwin wants free bowl for bowlers as he calls for equal contest cricket. Amid the ongoing Man Card debate, Indian bowler Ravichandran Ashwin has come up with a new idea saying that there should be just a free ball for bowlers just like free hit exists for the batsmen. A free hit is awarded to the batting side when a bowler bowls a no ball. After the no ball, the subsequent delivery is a free hit and the batsman cannot be dismissed on that delivery other than run out. Ashwin said there should be a free ball if the batsman on the non-striker and leaves the crease before the ball is bowled. Also, if the batsman gets out on the free ball, batting side will be docked 5 runs.
This is Fatima Abdul Qadir
and Savia Chandni
signing off from H&E Live Weekly Global Roundup. Thank you.